What's up, everyone? I'm so pumped up from that intro. This is, what is this? Let's Write Scripts. I'm Micah Crowdy, the head of writing at Arc Studio, the best screenwriting app in the world, and dare I say, universe? All the worlds. Yeah, you can check it out. There's a link below if you want to learn how to write your scripts in Arc Studio. This is Let's Write Scripts, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to write scripts. Today, we're going to be doing 3 timed writing sprints where you can focus on whatever your current project is. And then during those sprints, I'm going to put like a timer on the screen, play some music, and we are then in the breaks between going to chat about screenwriting. And I like to answer questions about screenwriting that you may have. So you can put those in the chat and in the breaks. We're going to talk about them. But before we get into it, I want to know where are you and what are you writing today? Our 2 usual questions, our standard questions for everybody here. I like to see people all around the world and what you're working on. And then our sort of writerly question for the day to get the creative juices going. What are your strategies for writing strong action description lines? So yeah, we'll talk about that in just a second. If you're feeling it, please like this video, hit subscribe, turn notifications on, or you know what? You don't have to even like it now. You can hit like at any point during the video. You can also unlike it at some point if you just decide to turn on me. And of course, during the second break, I'm going to be showing the sandwich of the week, which is like a pretty solid sandwich this week. I don't get hopes too high because it's not like the best sandwich I've ever had, but like just like a good sandwich. It's a really good sandwich and it deserves its time to shine. So let me answer these 3 questions myself because it's like, don't ask other people to do things that you're not willing to do. I'm in Los Angeles and it's like spring here today. I think it's like in the 80s or something, which is so crazy because like the rest of the country is dealing with this like polar vortex thing, but it's been very warm here lately. And I am working on a vomit draft of a feature. I kind of was sort of doing a semi-vomit draft of it, but then I decided to like lean in and just really go because I always preach about vomit drafts being great, but then I don't do it myself sometimes. And I was just like, I think for this one, it actually really makes sense that I need to do that. So I'm doing that. And then, yeah, I'm working on a blog post for this one on writing action description lines. And so if you're an Arc Studio user, I'll email that out on Monday. I'm still like working on it. But a couple of things, obvious, like one tip is just look up the paragraphs, your action lines, and think, can I say this in a more concise manner? There's a rule of thumb that the paragraphs shouldn't be longer than 4 lines, which again, like all like general rules, it's like a general guideline. It's because if you just look at scripts, for a lot of great scripts, you're going to see paragraphs in there that are like chunky, big, thick ones. So, but like as a general rule, you want it to be kind of 4 or less. And if it's going to be more than that, it just has to be really great, or you have to be like a famous writer who can do whatever they want. Also, a couple other tips. One thing that I struggle with even now is, all right, like they start to do something or begin to do something. Like instead of like a character's being like, ties his shoes, I'll be like, he begins to tie his shoes. And it's just like, we don't need to begin things. Like we can just, like, they just do them. Usually you can cut that. Another tip I will say is don't forget who you're writing it for. You're writing this, hopefully you want to get discovered or you want to get this made. You want people to become fans of the script. You want them to love it. So you want it to be fun. So don't forget to put your voice in there. You want it to move quickly. You want it to be engaging, but like you also need a little bit of your own voice, a little bit of your own energy. So yeah, just some thoughts to get you going today. Loving the chat, man. People are here. Let's see, what do we got here? Barbara's loving the opening from LA in rewrite mode. Hello to everyone. Oh, Craig's writing a query letter today for his novel. Fantastic. Pam from New Mexico. Everyone's loving the opening. Some animal skits for everyone from Sacramento, working on my veterans writing project trip. Fantastic. JSDA, so we write in scripts. Yes, Jace, we write in scripts. Cash in Texas, working on his first feature. Eager to hear what people are saying. Yeah, I want to see what other people think about action lines. Jeff also here with me on Team Vomit Draft. Which is like the worst team. I don't know what our jerseys would be for that. I don't want to think about that. On a Hitchcock type 1 location thriller. Oh, that's awesome. Sounds fun. Joe in San Francisco. George, is this your first time? I don't know if I recognize your name. If so, welcome. And if it's not your first time, welcome back. Jace the Ace, currently writing a book, but I also might write scripts as well. Well, fantastic. By the way, Jace the Ace, I don't know if you know this, but we have another show on Mondays called Let's Write Books, where we talk about book writing, and yeah, that's what we do. And I'll talk about that later. Speaking of which, Tessie, I think, goes to, you go to Let's Write Books, and she's continuing writing on her novel. We got Folsom here. We got the Netherlands here. It's like Folsom and Netherlands, the twin, just, I don't know, bookmarks of the world. Pam in New Mexico, working also on a vomit draft. Steve, Chris Quinn, hey, man, good to see you back. Glad to see you here, man. Yeah, and then let's see here. We got a lot going on. Hi, number 2, second time here. I feel like, you know what? I always focus on the new people, but like the second time people, like this is your moment to shine. This is your moment in the sunlight. Welcome back, everyone who's here for the second time. All right, I see you. I appreciate you. There you go. Rosie, okay, so going into, I think this is in relation to our opening question here, which was what are your strategies for writing strong action description lines? I've been told not to use is, but I found that a bit limiting. I think what you're talking about is, as I use the word is using active verbs. So like instead of saying, Joe is walking down the street, you can just say Joe walks down the street. And in general, you don't always have to do that because sometimes you need to say is. That's just what it is. And now, honestly, I'm just counting the word is in my mind, and I feel like I'm going to go insane answering this question right now. But generally, active verbs are great. If you can just have them do it instead of kind of the passive they are doing it, then that's fantastic. And it really just helps build momentum here. Let's test rewriting a pilot day for action lights. Concise is key, and I find it's fun for me to write. It's fun to read. Yes, I think that's true. And I think it goes with like personality and voice. One, concision is great. You want it to move quickly. You want the reader to be able to like move quickly through your script. I think in general. One thing you could say is that you want like the reader to read through the script at the same pace you want the movie or TV show to be happening. So for instance, like if things are happening, then you move it down. And if it's like you want to slow down and focus on something, then you do that through the action lines, right? So you're like, okay, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, this is, what is that? And it's like you can do that through the rhythm of your line breaks, of how much you describe something, and that when there's like a thing that you really want people to focus on, you can give it a little more time. But then the second thing that like if it's fun for you to write, it's fun to read. Yeah, that's true. Like if there's some personality, if there's some humor, there's some cheek to it maybe, or a sense of dread or foreboding. You also you want like the tone to match the tone of whatever it is that you're writing. Let's see here. Kix Clan, second draft of a feature, been writing all day, and this came up as the perfect time for a break. Great. Well, I hate to break it to you, but we're also going to be writing soon again, so you're going to have to get back in that feature. Tozy, good afternoon. Working on an outline, very raw as I'm noticing. That's all right. We can build from that. Welcome back, Nessie. And hey, Sid. I haven't seen you in a minute. Working on a horror feature, currently in Oakland, usually in Chicago. Sid, are you I feel like you're always in somewhere else. Like you're like usually this somewhere here, but like in Oakland these days. Awesome. Ashford in Canada. That's great. Okay, Michelle from Los Angeles, also enjoying this nice weather here. Let's see here. Chris, one great tip I was given is that after you write your first draft, record yourself reading it so you can hear the pace and how it sounds. Yeah, that's reading things back is great. We're also like going to be adding a table read feature in Arc Studio, so you'll be able to hear it read aloud. We're like kind of doing it in beta right now, and that should be very helpful. Let's do it. All right. Let's go. What are we doing here? I'm so happy you're all here. All right, we're going to jump into our first sprint, the 15-minute sprint. This is like the chill sprint, where I'm going to get rid of this banner. You can still add it if you want. 15-minute sprint's like the warm-up sprint. So I like to slow down my voice before we get into it. But I love where for the 15-minute sprint, you can kind of like get in your zone, maybe read back over what you had before in your last writing session. Just try to like kind of get your head in that creative mind space. Don't stress out too much about like being too productive in it. Just really focus on focusing, if that makes sense. And like if you have your phone, with you, try to like not have it, get it away, because it's a distracting thing. I actually want to dramatically throw mine, but I don't have a safe space, anything to throw it at right now, and it would probably break. So yeah, 15-minute writing sprint. I'm going to play some music. I'm going to put a timer on the screen. So open your script, whatever you came here to write, get ready to work on it. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat and we can talk about them after the break. So let's do it. 15 minutes on the sprint here, 15 minutes on the clock. I'm going to play some music. Let me find it real quick here. And let's get some writing done. I'll catch you guys on the other side. Sorry for the sudden ending, but that was the end of our first writing sprint, the 15-minute writing sprint, the chill, warm up. How'd it go? Are the muses with us? Are we blessed with their presence? Are the creative juices flowing down the mountain? Yeah, how's your writing going, guys? Let me know. Anything in particular that you're dealing with, any struggles, any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and maybe we can talk about it. Maybe we can get to the bottom of some stuff or help you figure something out. Let me know. Welcome to everyone who joined during that first writing sprint. This is Let's Write Scripts, a weekly live stream show dedicated to helping you write your scripts, and to screenwriters, dedicated to community. We're coming together, we're talking about screenwriting, and just like giving you a time to focus and get into it. I want to make a quick announcement. You probably got an email for this if you're already an Arc Studio user, but we have a live Q&A tomorrow night or evening, depending on what your time zone is. But it is tomorrow at 5 p.m. Screenplay story structure in a nutshell with Jill Chamberlain. She's a script consultant and the author of The Nutshell Technique, Crack the Secret of Successful Screenwriting. So we're going to be talking all about story structure and a lot of other stuff. And I'll be interviewing her, and I'll be working on questions from the audience. So if you want to RSVP for that, you can go to arcstudiopro.com/events, or there's a link in the description below. So check that out. And yeah, if you're a novel writer, because we people talking about novels, I mentioned we have a show called Let's Write Books. And on Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific, we're going to be doing that. And we're going to be kind of talking about style in terms of like POV and other forms of style, and how that kind of impacts the book, and yeah, how you can sort of use the style and develop the style of your book to kind of increase the substance of it. So you can RSVP for that. I think there should be a link also in the description below. And then, of course, next Wednesday, we're going to be doing Let's Write Scripts again. So I'm looking forward to that. Every Wednesday, excited to see you guys. It's one of the highlights of my week. I love it. All right, let's see here. Some questions. First off, welcome to Nisi and Adonis Media for joining. Cash had a question here. I watched Captain America: Brave New World yesterday. I feel like it placed humor in bad places, as in right after emotional, serious scenes. Would you say it's better not to have any humor at all, or better to try and make it fit? So I have not seen this movie, so I'm not going to be talking about this movie, but I will talk about humor kind of just in general. I think every movie should have humor in it, personally, because I feel like that's just one of the colors of life, and that even tragedy, drama, they have these moments of humor. And so I think it's sort of important because part of the human condition, but I also feel like it's a very important tool in balancing light and darkness, and like helps you give a contrast between moments. I will say that, yeah, like sometimes it's hard, and like you can force humor, and yeah, obviously it's not like a really brilliant thing to say, don't force it. But I will say that, like, in terms of serious and dramatic moments, like oftentimes that's how people deal with things. Like it's not crazy to me that you'd have humor in those moments. Like when people are uncomfortable, they laugh, and like that doesn't mean that they're happy. It just means that, that's how we respond to things. And stylistically, sure, sometimes it can be overused, but I think humor should be used well. I think, though, if like it should sort of flow naturally from the characters in the situation. I will say, if you don't have anything funny to say, then don't try to be funny. I think that's a pretty good rule of fun. Annie, I'm tweaking my dog. Beats, is it necessary to have a certain number of beats in a script, or it can be random according to how the story rolls? Look, there are certain like approaches to screenwriting that'll be like, these are the 22 beats, or this many beats. And I don't really prescribe to that. I'm not, if you want to do that, that's cool. I'm like, I don't think that's wrong. I just don't think in that way. I don't count beats in my stories. I just think about the story. I think about the shape of the story. I think about the journey that the characters are going on. And that's how I think about like whether there's a full story or not. So I don't think you really need to count your beats. Also, people like kind of like I think of beats differently. Like if you're counting it up, like there's like different definitions of like what exactly is a beat. So I wouldn't worry you that much. A beat is something that's happening in your story, and it can help you arrange and figure out the structure. But like it's not the wagon. It's not the horse pulling the wagon, right? Like it's a symptom. It's not like it's there to help you, but you don't need to be led by that. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Let's see here. Demetrius had a question. He has some ideas for some adaptations. Any tips how to process adaptations? Sure. I mean, there's a couple like practical things in terms of like the industry. And one is like you can't adapt it if you don't have the rights to it. So that's just like on a practical term. I don't know. Actually, I'm no fan of the opera, which is, I think, public domain. So you could probably, do that if you want. But I know Bridge of Sighs, I don't know what year that was. Basically, obviously, if it's in public domain, you can do whatever you want. If it's not, you need the rights to it. But in terms of adaptations, I think just like a quick thing I'd say on that is that you need to keep in mind that it's a different medium, right? Like if you're adapting a book in particularly, books are so much bigger. There's so much stuff in books that will not fit. Even if you're doing a mini series, like it's just not going to fit. It's a different animal. And so you sort of have to get down at the core of what it is, what these characters are, and translate that to the screen. So that's what I would say on that. Let's see here. What else do we got here? Yeah. Do you recommend writing your logline for? Okay. Do you mean? I'm guessing you mean logline. Do you recommend writing your logline for your feature before you totally dive into formally writing the screenplay? Loglines are interesting because they kind of serve two functions. One is that like where they came from is literally like they'd be on the spines of the scripts, and so they'd be very short, and you could just like know what it was, and you use it to like pitch or to sell something, right? But it also can be helpful in the writing process because it helps you distill the idea. And if you're like struggling with the log line, maybe it means like I don't have a good handle on what exactly it is that I'm doing. I kind of will sometimes do something a little similar when that's not like a log line, but I kind of just will like write the story out or say it aloud as if like I'm telling it to a friend. And I find that if I can do that, then, or literally tell it to someone. And if you can do that in a way they're like, oh, wow, that sounds good. Then like, that's a good sign that you're ready to jump forward and work with it. Oh, like the music for the first print. Yeah, it's pretty chill. It's getting you in the mood for it. Yeah, it's so interesting. Like adapt kind of on the question of adaptations. Like I feel like honestly, there are some books that are better as movies as books. I mean, like oftentimes the things say, okay, like the movie's usually worse than the book. But I will say that there are movies that I've loved, and when I've also read the book where I've been like, okay, the movie actually was better suited for it. So sometimes it can go both ways. Animal skits for everyone. I have the hardest time with treatments and outlines. Yeah. I kind of agree with this. There's something about them that like seems to really like wring the joy out of the process where you're like just trying to get it down to the bare bones of it, and you're like losing all the fun, and you're just like it's just slogging away at it. And I kind of get that. So one thing that helps with this, like when people ask me about like writing treatments and stuff, I try to kind of go back to that idea of you should still be using the same storytelling skills that you're using in your script in the treatments and the outlines. Like it should still be fun. It should still be like, again, you're sitting next to your friend telling about this great thing you watched or you saw, and you're like giving the information out in that way. Like a synopsis, you don't want it to be like this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens. You want to be using the same kind of storytelling skills. And using tone and all of these sort of elements in your treatments and your outlines as you would. You want to try to give it basically as much life as you can. And one that makes it more helpful if people are going to read it, but also like for you in the process, it makes it more fun. You know what I mean? So I think that can help, because I've definitely felt that where you're just like trying to, it feels like you have this big live thing that's wonderful, and then you're just like getting it down to this thing and you're like, oh, I lost everything. So trying to still give it that life, that energy, using those same storytelling skills can be very, very helpful, I think. All right, cool. Loving everybody in the chat. This is great. Really having a great vibe today. Again, if you have more questions, please drop them in the chat. I'm especially sorry if I missed some stuff. It's active today. I love it. I love when I can't keep up fully with the chat because everyone is here. Let's see what else. Oh, hey, Nisi, welcome. Glad you're here. All right. I think we should do some more writing. So we did the 15-minute sprint. We warmed up. And now we are going to the 25-minute sprint, or probably the first of 25. We'll see how much for the third sprint, how much time we have. Oh, here's interesting. Before we do that, she's saying she struggles with treatment, is still not perfect, so I started working my script side by side. Well, I'll point on that I also do think that these are both sort of living, breathing documents. Like, there are people out there who can like write a treatment and then boom, and then they just write the script. But like for me, writing is an exploratory process where I'm figuring it out as I go, because that's part of the fun of it for me. It's like I want to get to know this world, these characters. I want to find new things. I want to surprise myself. Like if I'm writing and I'm not surprising myself at all, I'm very bored. So I think, yeah, doing things in tandem, having a sense of the shape, but then going back and be able to adapt things on the fly, as long as you don't sort of lose your way, I think can be very helpful. Anyways, all right. So that said, I'm going to play some more music, put 25 minutes on the clock, and we're going to come back and chat a little bit more. So if you have more questions, please drop them in the chat, and we will talk about them in 25 minutes. So I'm going to play the next music, and let's do it. Happy writing, everyone. All right. And that is the end of the second writing sprint, the first of the 25-minute writing sprints. That's like the meat and potatoes. That's the center of gravity. That's act 2 of Let's Write Scripts. Welcome if you joined during that writing sprint. This is Let's Write Scripts. We are a live stream show every Wednesday devoted to screenwriting and helping you write your script, bringing community, letting you talk to each other, ask me screenwriting questions, and just like get down, focus on it. Speaking of focus, how were you focused in that sprint? How did it go? Were you able to like get in there? Are the muses with us? Solving any problems? Any new issues coming up? Any questions you want to ask? Feel free to get in the chat and ask. There was a question I missed earlier from Ryan, where she said, what is it like working in a writer's room? I'm so used to being by myself and screenwriting. Yeah, so I worked in a writer's room, and I was an assistant. I was a writer in a writer's room, and also was assistant in a couple of writers' rooms. I mean, I love it. It's one of my favorite places to be in the world. Just like the creative energy. It's like like when you're having a really good meal and everyone's sitting around and like it's just everything's flowing and everyone's just cracking each other up and you're just like loving it. That's what a writer's room is like, and it's fantastic. Yeah, so they're not all fantastic though. Like you'll hear horror stories. So like when it's bad, it's bad. But when it's good, it's awesome. It's fantastic to have that kind of creative energy around you, and be getting paid to do it is a wonderful, wonderful thing. But yeah, no, they're also toxic writers' rooms. You can be weird personalities. You can have showrunners who are not great, or aren't in great places in their lives, or just like struggle with the show. So there can be dark sides, definitely. But I've been pretty fortunate to like work with really good people, and yeah, so I love it. I have to say it's fantastic. If you ever get a chance to do it, highly recommend it. I just want to say hello to Dystopia Utopia Autumn, new at writing scripts. So glad you're here. I hope you maybe learned some things in this. Feel free to ask questions. You can also, we have the Arc Studio community forum. If you're an Arc Studio user, you can click on community on the desk at Arc Studio and go to the forum and ask questions, participate there. But so glad you're here. Adonis had a question. If one was to pitch or even share their pilot script, would it make sense to keep the main character descriptions light and save that for a separate character bio page to include? Yeah, I mean, so like in the script itself, when you meet the character, you want it very brief description, just like kind of what's their vibe. It can be like a sentence. It can be a couple words. I mean, if there's something really cool, you can get more than a sentence, but like in generally, you want to just meet us. You want to introduce the character, have the reader just get a sense of like who they are, and then what are they doing right now? Because that's what they want to see. Like, what are they doing? Yeah, following them through the action. So you don't want to give like a big biography like in the script itself. In like a pitch document or like a treatment or something, yeah, you can have character pages where you'll have like, a big fat kind of section about like who they are. So yeah, you don't need to do that in the script itself. But you also had that example of, we were talking about like humor and switching, but you were talking about like quite like a scene in a movie where the characters start at jovial and turns into a fight like Goodfellas. I think this is the am I a clown? Do I amuse you scene? Which is fantastic, where it's a joke that it turns horrible. And one of the things about that though is that it's character based, right? Like that works because of oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name, but you know who I'm talking about. I'm so the small Joe Pesci. There we go. Because like a Joe Pesci's character is like kind of crazy, right? And violent and dangerous, and he's kind of this jovial person, but he has that side to him, right? And we know it. We've seen the violence, we've seen the anger in him. So it works because of that, because it's based in character. So if you can base the humor in the character, in the situations, then like you have a lot of freedom to do great things there. Having some great sprints here. Denise, Barbara, Minoru. Yeah, a lot of people. Cash, a little distracted, but put it together. It's fantastic. What if you and another person have creative differences for a character or something else? I'm guessing this is back to your writer's room question. Well, basically there's one, you can have creative differences. That's fine. And you discuss them, but generally you are following the lead of the showrunner. So you're there basically to help the showrunner, who oftentimes is the creator of the show, but not always. Sometimes it'll be a showrunner and a creator. Sometimes it'll be like kind of two people in charge or one person. But like you're there to help support their vision, right? So if the showrunner is like, this is what we're doing, right? And this is what the character is, and you disagree with that. I mean, you can share your opinion, but then at some point you get on board because like everyone needs to be rowing in the right direction. Like if you're just, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not your show. So that's the big thing about being on a staff. It's not your show. You're hired to do a job. You're hired to help out. But like you're not in charge. It's not your show. So you have to kind of at some point follow the vision of the person who's in charge. And if you don't believe in the vision of the person who's in charge, it's probably not a show that you should be working on in the first place. So yeah, that's what I would say about that. Do I think about 20 episode season or 10? Would you prefer me? I'm kind of nostalgia for 20 or 30 per season days. So one of the big differences why, I mean, it's just there's been so many changes in the industry and the kinds of shows also that it's hard to go back because I love it. Like there are certain classic shows, like I like the West Wing and just like these long episodes, these long seasons, and I think that's fantastic. But like the economics of it have changed with streaming. Like it's just streaming generally doesn't support those long seasons anymore, which is one of the reasons it's changed. It's also the kinds of shows. There are certain kinds of shows that are easier to do long seasons than others. So those that are kind of procedural in nature, so like sitcoms, or it's like you have the same kind of characters and it's just a new scenario every week, or like cop shows, lawyer shows, medical shows, where it's just easier to come up with a new scenario kind of every week, but it's sort of the same thing every time. For other shows, like more serialized shows, it's harder to do a lot of episodes. It's just like you have to come, it's just like coming up with that because it's not like you don't have this like a formula that you can just repeat every time. So I'll say it has to do with one, the economics of having changed, and two, the kinds of stories you can tell are different. But I do agree that I love a good show that has like a lot of episodes. Great. Craig's heading out. See you later. Let's see here. Ooh, it's fun. Before we, sorry, here we go. If you could work in any writing room from the past, what shows would it be? I mean, just like all the shows that I love would be great. I don't know. I mean, I worked as an assistant on Better Call Saul, which was really cool. Obviously, the Breaking Bad room would have been really cool. I mean, it's also interesting though, because there are some shows where like they were more showrunner driven, so the room didn't necessarily have as much of a contribution. So there are certain shows like The West Wing, which I love, but that was certainly like Aaron Sorkin, like very much his deal, where there are other shows that are like kind of more collaborative, which probably would have been more fun. There's also a lot of comedies that I think would have been great to work on. So it's hard for me to like just narrow it down because there's so many like great shows that would have been fantastic. Okay, so I think I already did announcements, right? So yeah, there's that. Did I? Yes, I did. Right? I'm not crazy. We announced it. Yeah. So tomorrow there's the Q&A if you want to join with Jill Chamberlain, and next week we're doing Let's Write Books and Let's Write Scripts, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And cool. We are down already. Wow, this is like, oh my gosh, I forgot. I almost forgot. Did you change the spelling of your name? Wait, yes, because it used to be with an E right there. Okay, man, I feel like, wow, that's like an eagle eye. I'm like, that doesn't seem right. Unless there's like two people here with almost the exact same name. But I'm assuming you just changed the spelling of it. Anyways, sandwich, right. Sorry, the sandwich of the week. If you're new, every week I just show a photo of the best looking sandwich that I made because I love sandwiches. A lot of you love sandwiches, and this is like a pro sandwich environment. So here we go. This is the sandwich of the week. And last week I had some like cheesy puffs in the foreground. People liked a little crisps, a little crunch in it. So I'm just like, might as well do that. So we got some sun chips in the foreground here. And this one was a rosemary polenta bread, which you can see, which was just fantastic. It's so delicious. And not the best photo I've ever taken. Actually, I think the sandwich is actually getting dwarfed a little bit by the sun chips. But like, hey, we got to mix it up. I'm showing a lot of sandwiches on this show. So we'll give sun chips their moment to shine. Little sun pun for you there. But yeah, this was delicious. Turkey's usual, cheddar, greens, avocado, sun-dried tomatoes, stone ground mustard, and mayo. Of course, it was like low-fat mayo because I'm trying to be healthy. But it was a really, really solid. Yeah, the bread is the star. That's the rosemary polenta bread, and it was like a big old loaf, and it was delicious. Sandwich is my favorite part of the week. I mean, I love that, but also like, what about the writing? what about the screenwriting parts of this show? I guess they can't compare to the deliciousness of the sandwiches. Yeah. It's always really funny because when I do the sandwich of the week, I always am looking for the sunshine. So it's like I make a sandwich, I have it on a plate, and then I'm like wandering around in like my yard or somewhere, like looking for the sun, just like taking photos of a plate with a sandwich on it. And I'm always also terrified I'm gonna drop it. Yes to the crunch, always free to eat before your sandwich hunger. That's like, this is a reminder. Let's write, we gotta be fortified to write. All right, great. So that is the sandwich of the week. Come back next week for a new sandwich. Who knows what it will be? Who knows what the bread is? It breaks my heart right there. The sandwich falling in slow motion. I've thought about that. Like, so God, you're actually just like, that's difficult. I'm picturing that, and it's scaring me. I don't like it. I also feel like maybe this is going to happen next week. Now I'm a little superstitious, so we'll see. Maybe next week the sandwich of the week will just be like a photo of the sandwich on the ground, just spilled open, and like my dog trying to get at it, or both of my dogs trying to get at it, and like me pulling them away. All right. Anyways, we are going to do some more writing because I am just kind of like rambling at this point. But I think we're going to do 20 minutes on this last sprint. I think that sounds good. And I'm going to play a little more music. We're going to get into it. Thank you for all coming. This is a great episode. I feel like y'all like bringing the energy, bringing the questions. That's great. And I love it. Thank you for being here. So look forward to this every time. And I'm glad that a lot of you look forward to this too. That means a lot to me. So we're going to finish strong. If you have to leave during the sprint, no worries. Just say farewell in the chat. Let me know how it went. Hope to see you either tomorrow night or next week or both. And, yeah, I got married 2 months ago, which, by the way, I think like at the time I announced it, so some of you know this. Yeah, so I may have had someone like in the past referred to her as actually, it would have been like girlfriend on this show, then fiance, and now wife. Yeah, so there you go. I did get married. So thank you, Paula. All right, so now we're going to actually do some writing. But I appreciate that. Yeah, great. Yeah, I did announce it a while ago. But, people don't come every week, so that's no worries if you didn't know that before. All right, so 20 minutes on the clock. I'm going to play some more music, and then I'm actually in my wife's office right now, which is why I'm different. She's out of town for work, so I have taken over her much like nicer looking office that has this cool Polish alien poster behind me and like hanging plants and everything. So here we go. All right. Enough talking. 20 minutes on the clock. If you have to leave, say farewell, just like Dr. Steve did. And if you're here till the end, I'll say final farewells on the other side. But I'm going to play some music, and let's just like lock down and like take advantage of this time. Let's do it. Sorry, I got lost in looking at my script. Anyways, that is the end of Let's Write Scripts for today, February 26th, in the year 2025, I think it is still. Thank you all so much for being here. I hope to see you all, or a lot of you, tomorrow night at the Q&A with Jill Chamberlain. And if not, I hope to see you next week at either Let's Write Books on Monday or Let's Write Scripts, which is this next Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific. Or at all three, or at two of the three, or one of the three, but hopefully not 0 to 3, because that would make me sad. Again, like the video if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, this was wonderful. Thanks everyone for being awesome, and I hope to see you all soon. So have yourselves a great rest of the week, and I hope you do some more writing. All right, everyone, that's it for me. I'll see y'all later.